Hey man, how's it going?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Good man. So you just landed a big four job offer for a new grad. We'll talk about that in a moment, a little later on in terms of what you're going to be up to. Very interesting, exciting role. But before we get to that, first of all, congratulations on the job offer. That's really amazing. And before we get to that, talk about all the juicy contents of that job offer. We'll first talk about where you were
Mhm.
before we started working together. Kind of what your scenario was like. If you can give a little bit of context and introduction to our audience today.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. Once again, thanks for having me, Ethan. I would say before landing this job offer, I was pretty stressed out. The current job market. Definitely a lot of jobs getting taken over by AI. And I was at a point where I was applying to a lot of different jobs, getting interviews, right? Because I did have a good resume as well. But I was having difficulty when it came to the interviews because I feel like my issue was I was putting a lot of importance on the interview, and that kind of made me nervous as well. I think it's important to prepare, but also be a bit casual. So yeah, I was applying a lot, getting interviews, but the main roadblock was just getting from that interview stage to that offer stage. That was where the roadblock was for me.
Nice. And how many interviews had you done at that point where you just weren't you were getting that offer that you were looking for?
I would say maybe 6 to 7 interviews. Yeah.
6 or 7 interviews. Okay. And what did you feel like? You mentioned like you were kind of like you felt like the interviews are kind of like tight. There was a lot of pressure, obviously, especially with the job market where it's like, oh man, I got an interview. It's like I have to nail this down. Otherwise, I don't know when the next one could come, right? It's
Mhm.
very competitive, hyper competitive market that we're in right now. How did you feel like what did you feel like were the main roadblocks at the time with your interviews?
I would say the main roadblocks was me personally. I would get nervous sometimes. So they would ask me like simple questions, but unless like what I would do for preparation is, AI is like our best friend nowadays. So I'd
Mm,
go on AI, put in the regular interview questions, and try to just go based off, what AI would give me.
mm.
But this wasn't really what reflected in reality. So when I was actually saying it in the interviews, I was kind of just reading off a script. And if they were to ask me a question which was very different than what I practiced, I wouldn't really be able to, freestyle it in a sense and have a good answer because it wasn't really related to what I was studying. So,
Nice, got it. Okay, yeah. So when we started working together, this was a couple of months ago. You were at the time interviewing, right, or starting to
mhm,
interview, and we wanted to kind of dive deeper into those interviews and unpack what was happening. Try to see where that pressure was coming from, which is very common. Like pretty much almost everyone I work with has some level of pressure that's giving them a lot of nerves, and it's kind of messing up the way that they're answering questions because they feel very tight and they're not super relaxed. So that was something that we worked on.
mhm,
Yeah, what were some of the things that we worked on? I know we did a lot of interview coaching sessions. We did a lot of case studies as well, since this was a big
mhm.
four offer. Walk us through like in terms of like what we did together on those calls.
Yeah, for sure. So I'd say the first thing is you wanted to understand, like, what are my goals? What do I really want to do? And I'd say after that, we went into like some behavioral questions. And I think one of the things that was really beneficial in this area as well was you actually listened to what I said very closely. And in our first call, one of the lessons which I learned is it's important to really understand what the interviewer is asking you rather than, just going on a tangent, answering a question that they didn't ask. And it's even better to actually, ask them to repeat the question. And the main takeaway from this, first session was really just understanding what they're asking you and, tailoring your answer for that as well. So yeah, we went into like some behaviorals, we did some case studies, and I still remember that advice you gave me is don't sell yourself short. When I was giving, my answer for, what am I proud of? I said I was lucky enough to be chosen as the, CEO of Lexingworth, and you mentioned to me that luck is it wasn't really luck, it was hard work. So rather than saying I was lucky, say I was chosen to, right? So kind of switching from, you know, it's switching my confidence level, becoming more confident in what I'm saying, and overall, being humble but also being confident and showing your worth is also what people respect a lot.
Yeah, no, I do recall we definitely worked a bit on how you were talking, not just to me, but also to yourself, right? Because that obviously changes our perspective of how we see ourselves and how we end up carrying ourselves on a day-to-day basis in terms of our confidence and the way that we say things with conviction, right? So we definitely worked a lot on that. By the time you got to the interview, right, with this big four company, how did you feel after we had done a lot of preparation? I mean, we did a lot of questions together, the case studies too. We tried to go very in depth with that. How did you feel going into the interview, and how did you feel during the interview after going through some sessions together?
I felt more confident for sure because Again, we did a couple of like mock interviews. We also did the case studies as well. So I already had that firsthand feeling, pretending you were my interviewer, how it would feel. So first of all, the nerves were definitely calmed. I was walking in more confident. I also did a lot of networking as well. I remember you gave me some tips, just to get to know your interviewer. So I did a lot of networking. I went to the pre-interview socials, had coffee chats with the associates, and I knew the manager as well. So it was mostly the partner interviewing me, but she also, had an idea of who I was, my studies, my background. As I already did have coffee chats with other people on the team. So I would say I was definitely more confident going into the interview. And during the interview, my answers were more, collected and, tailored to their questions as well.
Nice, man. Like, that's awesome to hear. So, yeah, in terms of next steps, tell us a bit about the company you'll be working for, the role that you're doing, if you can share a rough salary range, and what you're most excited about for this upcoming role.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. So it's going to be PwC within the deals, business line, and salary range is between, I would say, like on the job listing it said between 60 to 70K. And in terms of what I'm doing is there's different types of businesses that come to us specifically as insurance claim services, and we work on loss quantifications or business loss cases as well. So we essentially help quantify the losses and put a number on it in terms of how much a person would have lost in terms of income or a business would have lost in terms of revenue or profit given a certain time period.
Nice, man. And what are you looking forward to the most? And when do you start this new job?
I started in September. I'd say what I'm looking forward to the most is, just kind of finally getting out of university. And, I've done internships in the past, but this is kind of like my first full-time, job out of university. So kind of looking forward to just starting that new chapter in life. Again, it's not new to me, like in terms of, working a corporate job, done a lot of internships, but I think it's definitely, a stepping stone, just knowing that I'm done with classes, done with, exams. I'm going to be starting my CPA journey as well. So I'm looking forward to, finishing those modules, finishing those exams, and, finally getting started with my career.
Nice, man. So before we drop off, then, any last words for anyone who was in the same boat as you before? They just graduated or looking to graduate soon, and they're looking for their first new grad role.
Mm-hmm. I would say the main thing is just be yourself. Honestly, like I think throughout my university degree, there was times where I would try to be somebody just because maybe like I thought I was the type of person who would get a certain type of role. But I feel like what goes a long way, especially in interviews, because people know when you're genuine or not, is be yourself, which obviously doesn't mean, not to be unprofessional or to be very casual, be professional, be casual, but also be yourself at the end of the day, which means that, your personality, who you are, your interests are not going to change. But also, be professional with it and also, be yourself. And I think the opportunities gravitate towards you as well.
Awesome, man. Well, congratulations again. Welcome to Big Four. I'm excited for you to start soon. And yeah, we'll chat soon. We'll stay in touch, man.
Perfect. Thank you so much and really appreciate the interview as well.